Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's time for the Game Week 23 episode of 100 Experts, where we find out what 100 FPL experts are doing in terms of their captaincy, their transfers, and what kind of chips they're using this week as well. And trust me guys, this week we have got some amazing data, some really interesting trends, some things that I did not expect to be happening at all. And hopefully it's going to really help us out with some of our key decisions in Game Week 23. So if you guys enjoyed this one, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here. Without further ado guys, let's meet the experts. So the 100 FPL experts, pundits, content creators who very kindly volunteered their information for us this week are on screen right now. And yeah, like I say, we've got some really good stuff this week. We've got some really interesting transfer trends, and I think this one is really going to help you out. So massive shout out to these guys who have really helped us out this week, because believe me, they have. Alright, in general, guys, first of all, 38% of our managers are taking just one transfer this week. 45% are making 2 transfers. 5% are making 3 or more transfers. All 5 of them are making 3 transfers, in fairness. And we've got 12% not making a transfer as well. No one's using their wildcard. We've got no free hit users. We've got no bench boost users. We have got triple captain users, but we're going to come onto that later on in the video at the captain section, so just stay tuned for the triple captain talk, I guess. But yeah, certainly what we can see from this information is that about half of our managers, exactly half of our managers, if we include the 3 transfers, half of our managers are making 2 or more transfers. So this is a week where it's kind of 50-50, up to you whether you want to make just one transfer or you want to go all in and make several transfers. 12% not making a transfer is pretty low, reasonably low. So it is one of those weeks to be making transfers, to be making changes to your teams, and there's some really strong trends of what kind of players we should be bringing into our teams as well, which we're going to find out shortly. But first of all, let's have a look at the overall player base, the casual player base. What is the everyman FPL manager doing this week? Well, the most popular Game Week 23 transfers in the world are as follows. Mitoma far and wide out at the top, way in front of all of these other players. We've got the likes of Saka, Mahrez, Ødegaard, Rashford. These kind of players are a little bit behind Mitoma, but yeah, it seems to me that Mitoma is, in the world, by far the golden boy, the player that everyone wants to get in their team right now. And the big question is there any correlation between what we see here and what our FPL experts are doing? And you know what? Most weeks there is like a little bit of there's a decent amount of crossover. This week there is some real divides coming on. So first of all, the most popular players in the world that are also popular among experts are Saka, Mahrez, Ødegaard, Nketiah, De Bruyne and Ake. So there are some players on here that are popular among experts as well, but you can see that is leaving a lot of gaps here. There's only 6 players out of these 12, so half of the most popular transfers in the world are just not favoured at all really by experts. And we can go one step further. There are some players on this list that none of our experts are transferring in, and in fact a lot of our experts are actually selling some of these players as well. Rashford, Ben Mee, Bruno Fernandes and Shaw, there is zero interest in any of these players, and in fact Fernandes is being sold by quite a lot of people. A few people selling Luke Shaw as well. I think people having a very close eye on Game Week 25 blank game week. I don't think many of our experts are going to be free hitting in Game Week 25. That doesn't seem to be a too popular of a kind of a strategy when I've been looking around Twitter and stuff. But yeah, certainly there is a real clear divide here between players who blank in 25 who are not favoured by experts and players who do not blank in 25 who are favoured. But that's going to be a strategy thing. If you are, like I've been saying all week, if you are free hitting in Game Week 25, it's difficult to provide advice that suits everyone, because you're going to be playing a very different game if you're planning on a free hit in Game Week 25. But certainly what we can see here is, you know, Saka, Mahrez, Ødegaard, like some of these Man City and Arsenal players very high up the list, like in general, but also among experts. And then you've got the likes of, you know, Rashford. No one's really going to be buying him at this stage. You know, most top managers are very much already have Rashford. They bought Rashford in a long time ago, so not too many. It's not saying it's a bad pick, but just that it's maybe a little bit late to get him in now, or maybe it isn't. I don't know. Ben Mee, look, there's not going to be any sensible, you know, top FPL manager who is going to be buying Ben Mee for Game Week 23. Plays Arsenal in Game Week 23, blanks in 25. There is little scope to get points from Ben Mee over the next couple of game weeks. If you want a Brentford defender, you may as well just wait a few more weeks. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, certainly among top players like the players you want to be avoiding, certainly Ben Mee, Fernandes and Shaw, I would say as well, arguably Rashford as well. All right, so who's been transferred out? So we did mention a couple of these players already, but we have got Fernandes out here way out in front. So our experts are transferring out Bruno Fernandes, and that's not necessarily because he is a must sell. We did see a lot of people transfer in Fernandes last week for the double game week, but I think what we're going to see is people brought in Fernandes as a bit of a 1 week punt. So far, as I record this video before the second fixture of Man United, it looks like that's been a fairly good move. You know, it looks to have paid off. So far, so good. So yeah, a nice 1 week punt, but he's an expensive player, and it's difficult to have him and some more Arsenal players or some more Man City players. So we have got a situation where Fernandes, he is still a good player, don't get me wrong, and he's a fine player to keep in your team. And some of our experts are actually keeping Fernandes, but at the same time, he is one of the easiest players to move out compared to some of the other midfielders that you might have in your team right now. So there's a lot of argument to remove Fernandes. That's why we see him at the top of the list. Something really interesting here is how many people are transferring out Martinelli. Now, if you asked me a few weeks ago, would people be transferring out Martinelli before a double game week? I would have said no chance, but things change. You've got to adapt to new information. Look, if you've decided before that you think Martinelli is a good pick, you're probably right. As things move on, he becomes less and less of a good pick until we come to this point and we have to hold up our hands up and say, look, got to take the L on this one. It's not gone so well in the last few weeks. We know that Martinelli's minutes are becoming more and more of a risk. And I think the key bit of information here, and this is kind of circulating all around top FPL managers communities, is that we've got 2 double game weeks for Arsenal in the next few weeks, in the next 3 game weeks, in fact. So we need to maximise our Arsenal assets, but we also need to make sure we've got the right Arsenal players. We need to make sure we've got the right ones and maximise the amount of points we can get from our limited 3 Arsenal player slots, which is why you see Martinelli being removed. It's why you see Ben White being removed as well, because if we're trying to maximise how many points we're going to get from Arsenal players, these are not the optimal players, so they have to be removed maybe. So that's why we're seeing some Arsenal players, despite the fact they have double game weeks, still being removed. Quite crazy, but, you know, you just got to roll with it. Almiron, pretty obvious sell, not performing very well, blank in 25. Tony, I would say reasonably obvious sell as well. Arsenal next, his underlying numbers have not been amazing. They've been decent enough, but nothing absolutely crazy. And we have got the blank in 25 as well for Tony. So, yeah, not a good few game weeks for him. Andreas is an interesting one. People got moving to a 5-man midfield, seems to be the trend here. And we've got some other players, you know, Cancelo and Doherty there. Neither of those players play for their Premier League clubs anymore. Martial injured, Rodrigo injured. So some of these players just are being forced out of teams, basically. Most popular transfers in, and this is where things get very interesting. Now, first of all, look at this list. What do you notice? All of the top, most popular transferred in players among experts, they all share one thing in common, one common trait. And do you know what that is? Every single one of them has a double game week in Game Week 23. Every single one of them. So they're all Arsenal and Man City players. Mahrez, Saka, Ødegaard, Nketiah, De Bruyne. These are the big 5. These are the big 5 transfer targets for the game week, I would say. Obviously, some of these defenders lower down the list are kind of players you might want to think about bringing in as well. But certainly, there is a clear divide here. We can see that there's 5 players on this list among our experts that are very, very popular. And you're not going to be able to get them all in, to be honest. You know, you're probably not going to be able to have a midfield stacks of Mahrez, Saka, Ødegaard and De Bruyne. You're probably going to have some other players in there as well. Maybe a bench midfielder in there. Maybe a Marcus Rashford in your midfield as well. But we're probably going to be looking at trying to get as many of the big 5 on this list in your team as possible. And I would say, particularly with Arsenal players, do it even if it takes taking a hit. You know, we want to try and get, of the big 5 you see here, I would try and make sure you have 4. I really would. 4 of the big 5 you see in front of you would be very, very nice to have indeed. And we have got here the Saka, Ødegaard and Nketiah. That seems to be the optimal triple up on Arsenal at the moment. That is the most popular triple up. It's the 3 players that everyone wants to get. Defenders for Arsenal, not so popular anymore. Even defenders for Man City, not so popular anymore either. But yeah, certainly a lot of people asking me this week, Mahrez versus De Bruyne, which one should we be going for? Well, our experts are favouring Mahrez over De Bruyne, and that's not to say De Bruyne is a bad pick because he's still got some interest in him. But certainly, if you went into this video thinking Mahrez or De Bruyne, which one am I going to go for? maybe this has answered your question. And certainly by going for Mahrez, maybe that allows you to go for the slightly more expensive Saka as well. So look, there's a lot of scope here. In terms of defenders, if you're asking us for an Arsenal defender, Gabriel was the most popular. If you're asking us for a Man City defender, Lewis. Actually, it's actually Rico Lewis is actually the most popular Man City defender, which I'm not sure if I expected that or not. I thought, I don't know. It was always going to be a tough one between Lewis, Ake, and Akanji. But Lewis's price, you know, you can't really turn that down. Can't really, you know, he's a very, very good price. So look, Lewis, Ake, Akanji, there's some decent picks for the Man City defenders if you want to make a defensive transfer. But certainly, I would be looking at the big five. See how many of those players you can get for this game week. And if you can get 4 of them, I think you're going to be in for an absolutely mad game week. So with that said, let's suggest some transfers. Okay, so Fernandes, like I said, it's not that he's a bad player, but he's just the easiest player to transfer out in order to get the right double game week midfielder that you want to get in your team. So Fernandes to Mahrez, that is the most popular transfer of this week. It frees up a little bit of budget as well. Particularly, it's quite interesting because downgrading Fernandes to Mahrez actually allows you to upgrade some other players to Saka. You know, if you freed up a bit of budget, you can upgrade like a 6 million midfielder to a Saka, which is really helpful actually. So yeah, Fernandes to Saka, that's another downgrade kind of move you could potentially make there. And Fernandes to De Bruyne, just throwing that in there as well. I still think that's a fairly reasonable transfer, but I would say Mahrez and Saka seem to be the priority moves. I would say definitely an Arsenal midfielder. If you haven't got Saka or Ødegaard, those 2 players combined is a higher priority than a Mahrez. But yeah, look, Mahrez, Saka, these are probably the 2 big transfers, the biggest of the big 5, I guess, transfers in this week. And if you can make the Fernandes to one of those players switch, I think that's very good. It's going to free up a little bit of budget, which might allow you to make some more transfers. So, Martinelli to Saka and Ødegaard, I think I would arguably even be doing this for a hit. We've seen a lot of our experts are making multiple transfers, so if they have to take a hit, they will take a hit in order to get the right players in. So, get the perfect Arsenal triple up in. And the perfect Arsenal triple up, unfortunately, does not include Martinelli right now. So moving him to Saka or Ødegaard seems pretty sensible. Now, Almiron to Saka or Ødegaard is even more obvious. I think that's a transfer that is super easy to make. So if you still have Martinelli and Almiron, the priority really would be to try and move Almiron in to a Saka or Ødegaard. And then you can maybe think about moving Martinelli to a Saka or Ødegaard as well. The other one of the 2, I guess. It's going to be difficult to do that if you haven't got a lot of budget, so maybe that does involve downgrading another player somewhere else on your pitch. Another downgrade you could potentially do is Tony to Nketiah. That's another very popular transfer move this week. A lot of people removing Tony, a lot of people removing, you know, other strikers as well. Martial, maybe if you still have him, Martial to Nketiah. That seems like a pretty sensible move as well. But yeah, really, it just seems to be a case of getting in the right Arsenal players and then also making sure you're trying and maybe seeing how you can get in a Mahrez or a De Bruyne as well. So these are the popular moves. These are what we can suggest based on that. And with all of that said, I think we can finally talk about captaincy. What are you guys predicting? Are we saying it's going to be Erling Haaland at the top, you imagine? But by how much? What are the percentages going to be? Let's see. Well, I can tell you it is 94% Erling Haaland. Aston Villa at home, Arsenal away. Double game week for the highest scoring player in FPL. It's pretty obvious, right? It's pretty obvious. So yeah, we're seeing a super high number here. The clear trend is Haaland, but as always, guys, there's always going to be outliers. That exactly happens every week. And we've got 2 outliers, both double game week players. One is Saka against Brentford and Man City at home. You know, it's okay. De Bruyne here as well. Aston Villa home, Arsenal away. Only 1% on De Bruyne though, so that's a serious outlier. You wouldn't call that a trend at all, not even a slight trend. So we can probably disregard De Bruyne, but to me, it looks like Erling Haaland is the captain to go for. And if you are desperate to be different for whatever reason, then Saka is the second choice. He's like the second choice. So yeah, it's Haaland time again. Now, one thing I would say on the captaincy this week is that I'm not expecting super high points. You know, we look at this Aston Villa fixture for Haaland, and that's a very good fixture. We do like that one, to be fair. You can imagine that Man City players, attackers, can score some decent points in that fixture, but the Arsenal away fixture is not as good. We saw how Arsenal's kind of second string-ish team did against Man City in the FA Cup, and they really did compete very well in that game. So it's difficult for me to say that Man City are going to score a lot of goals against Arsenal. I just can't see it happening, really. So, when we're looking at captaincy for this game week, obviously we're going to go for a double game week player, but let's be honest, it's not really a double game week. It's kind of a 1.5 game week. We've spoken about 1.5 game weeks before. That's kind of what we find ourselves in a situation here. You can say the same thing about Arsenal. Brentford at home, Man City at home. It's a 1.5 game week. And to be fair as well, Brentford is not the easiest fixture in the world. They're playing quite well defensively. And although maybe some of you guys think Arsenal might beat Man City, maybe some of you guys think Man City beat Arsenal, it's not going to be super high scoring, really, is it? So, yeah, Arsenal players and Man City players are important because double game week, Arsenal multiple double game weeks, so that's why they're the priority. And they both play fixtures in game week 25, which is important as well to have your game week 25 covered. But in general, and you can see on screen, guys, the triple captaincy is nowhere near as popular as I thought it would be. I was really expecting so much higher than this. When we kind of been speaking the last few weeks about when are we going to use our triple captain, it seemed to be a clear divide between some people obviously already gone in game week 20. We saw a lot of people use triple captain in game week 20. We saw a lot of people going game week 22, myself included. I know a lot of you guys did. We saw it among our experts as well. About a third of them did. But I thought the next big one would be game week 23 because there was a discussion. Oh, maybe some people are going to triple captain in game week 22. Some people are going to go for 23. But it turns out only 3% in 23. That is seriously low. It's significantly lower than 20. It is mild. It was nowhere near as close to what we saw in triple captaincy numbers in game week 22. So, look, triple captain for game week 23 at 3%, you would say, okay, that looks viable. But at this point, do you maybe just think, save it? Can we save it for a future double game week? Could there be another future double game week that we could use it on? And there will be future double game weeks. Maybe better opportunities than this one. I don't know for sure. Don't want to say. Look, I thought the Erling Haaland triple captain for this game week, it doesn't look too bad to me. It doesn't look as bad as 3%. But look, this video is not about my opinions. It's about what 100 experts are up to and what trends we can find. And there's not a very strong trend, really, of triple captaining in game week 23. So if that's enough to put you guys off triple captaining this week, then fair enough. I think it would probably slightly put me off, to be honest. It doesn't seem like to be a popular play among experts. So, yeah, maybe consider that before pressing the button. Or maybe don't. Who knows? Right, that's going to be the end of this one. Make sure you do leave a like before you disappear. It really does help out the channel. Do subscribe if you want more content like this. And we have got a few more videos this week as well. We're also going to be streaming tonight, guys, so make sure you stay tuned. After the Manchester United game, we are going to be putting up a stream. So hopefully see a few of you guys there. If you're watching this after the stream has already happened, don't forget to go check out the replay. The replay is often quite good. We have some good discussions in those streams for you to listen in on. But yeah, that's going to be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.